First Take Math with Brian Thomas. Tonight we're going to introduce ratios and rates. Again, a ratio and rate, they're just a different type of fraction. So it has a fraction with a different meaning. Ratios typically have what we call same units. A rate usually is referred to something with different units. And then there's what we call a unit rate. That's when the denominator is equal to 1. So let's look at a few examples here. Again, what I want to do is write this as a ratio. The easiest way to do this is all you got to do is write, you have 3 parts sugar to 4 parts water. We just write this as a fraction. So the 3 over the 4. And that becomes what we call a ratio. Now, to give it meaning, it's a good idea to put the labels in there. So the numerator was sugar, so I have 3 parts sugar over then 4 parts water. And that would be considered a ratio. Sometimes you may see it written using a colon, 3 colon 4. So again, that's 3 sugar for every 4 water. And just listen to how I say that. That's kind of ratio language there. 3 for every 4. If you hear words like that, that's talking about ratios. You also could say 3, 2, 4. So 3, 2, 4. 3 sugars to 4 waters. And again, that would be a way to express ratios. So a lot of times you'll see it as a fraction. You may see it using a colon, or you may just see the word 2 in between there. So that's going to be a signal that you have a ratio. A rate, you may see something like 60 miles in 2 hours, or 60 miles for every 2 hours. So again, it has that same kind of play. But notice the units are a little bit different, miles and hours. So again, if I want to write this as a rate, I can also write this as 60 over 2. So 60 miles over 2 hours. And again, I can also express this in terms of, since I can divide this out, I can divide this into 30 miles over 1 hour. And when I do that, I've changed it to what we call a unit rate. So 60 miles in 2 hours would be a rate, but more specifically, if I divide that out, 30 miles in 1 hour, that becomes what we refer to as a unit rate. And a lot of times you may see that as 30 mph, 30 miles per 1 hour. But if I want to write that back out, it would look more like a fraction. Okay. Let's look at one more example. Determine the unit rate if 5 gallons of milk cost $18. Again, they have to specify, I want cost per gallon. So notice how the cost is per a gallon. So the gallon is on the bottom. So right now I have, my cost is $18, that's going to go on the top. 4 or 5 gallons, so the 5 gallons goes on the bottom. Now to make this a unit rate, what we do is just divide this out. So if I divide 18 by 5, we can kind of do that probably, it's not too bad. We know 5 goes in 18, 3 times? With the remainder of 3, bring my decimal in, add a 0. 5 goes in 36 times, and that shuts down. So we get 3.6. But since we're talking money, we would say it's $3.60 per 1 gallon. So a gallon of milk would cost $3.60. Now, I don't know what the cost of milk is these days, but that doesn't sound too far off. So that kind of gives you some examples of what ratios look like. So again, a ratio or rate, a lot of times we're going to use the fractional language to play with it. Stay tuned.